We're going to discuss concept 7 in the 10 concepts of the therapeutic community, and it's described as understanding the relationship of belonging and individuality. Charlie, tell us about that.
Well, I think that when you look at it's so unique how all of these concepts connect with one another. This concept probably connect and predicated on the concept before it. And so what I suggest when people trying to understand the therapeutic community concepts, we have 10 of them here. The order to understand the one that you own right now is always to go back and it's predicated on the one before it and the one before that one. It's all like the 12-step program. Every step built upon the other, this previous step. But if you look at this, is simply saying that they have a proprietary interest in the community, the environment, and changing. But at the same time, they're individuals, and they need to be able to carry this wherever. I don't want them to become so dependent on the group or the community where they won't be able to function outside of the community. But I want them to learn how to function inside the community and be able to take this as they incrementally begin to make the steps to leave the program, take this with them as an individual and be able to develop their own community and their own lives outside of this therapeutic community that we have that they're living in now. It's kind of a unique concept of taking a proprietary interest in the environment in which you live in.
So,
Ownership.
Right. So in one of the earlier concepts, you talked about the importance of getting these people to come out of their we-they dichotomy and become a part of the group, a part of the community. But now you're saying as you move on, your goal really is to get them to become strong enough individually that they can survive outside of that group setting.
Yeah, it's a thing called I am because we are. If I look at my own life, I see that I got most of my strength as a result of experiencing the entire community as a part of my backup to help me make it through life. You can't live life alone. We have a tendency as addicts to be isolated and introverted, and therefore we insulate ourselves. This is an opportunity for us to be part of a community, but at the same time now present ourselves as an individual in this setting that we can have some experiences as a person who is part of a group, but yet an individual. They call it interdependent, opposed to being independent. You're being involved with other people and you're sharing your life, but at the same time you are an individual producing and being a productive citizen in this environment.
So as this person starts to mature in this environment and get their independence, what are you looking for them to say and do, Karen?
Well, when they first come into the program, it's like they just really don't know how to be. So what they're doing is they're trying on all these different behaviors and different attitudes, and they're reflecting off of the other people within the community. They're reacting within the community. And then, they're learning how to just survive and just maintain themselves within the culture of the therapeutic community. But at some point, they're going to go out and get a job, and then they're going to transition back into the community. So we want them to be able to take what they've learned within the community and these little skills, these little behavior modifications, these, just different ways of presenting themselves outside in the workplace and in the visitation lot when they see their families or on a furlough, and then start kind of breaking away from being so dependent on the big brother or the upper structure and start taking charge of their lives, and with that making better decisions and then giving back.
So they search out their own identity from within the community itself, from within others, and they find out who they are by first being identified with this community. And so as a result of the community, you give a better identity to who you are as a person. And basically you tried various behaviors and various ways of doing things differently in this environment, and now you can take this out as an individual to show that you have changed in this different, in the larger community when you go out and go back into society again?
Well, as they try these different behaviors and they go through these different twists and turns within this maze, they're really learning to appreciate themselves. They're learning about themselves. They're learning about different aspects of themselves that they've never even tapped into before. So this is very empowering. So that's why belonging versus individuality is so unique as compared to the other concepts, because within the safety of the community, and just like we talk about in the rooms of AA and NA, the support, we become a part of that culture, but then at some point we become empowered to be ourselves, to make better choices. We have that self-esteem and that courage and that strength to then move forward, knowing that as a part of the community, we can do that.
And they take what they've learned in the community back out into the larger community as an individual, and being able to demonstrate the change that have taken place within this community. So it's kind of a unique in itself, is just to demonstrate how unique, how change take place in an individual life.
And Karen and you have both mentioned going back out into the community, and Karen, you specifically mentioned work in the workplace. I mean, one of the important goals of the program is to prepare each inmate, each client, to be able to be effective in the workplace and support themselves and a family.
Sometimes we forget that some of these clients really have had no base to draw on. They've never had the experience of going out to work. Some of them are dealers, some of them are young where they've never even had a job, So for them to get to that phase in treatment where they have to go out to work, they might come in with this huge facade, that they can do this and, all about attitude. But put them up against a situation where they actually have to go out within a certain amount of time, get on a bus, find a specific location, speak to someone about a job possibility, is something that they don't even know where to begin. There's so much training and preparation that goes on with it, with just finding employment, that we need to really pay attention to that, because this is where some of our clients actually fall apart because they can't do it. But knowing that they have these skills that they've learned in the center, in the community.
And is there a kind of a maturing process? I know as an adolescent, as I went through adolescence, and as most of us do, we go through this time from belonging in a family to finding our individuality, and we start to act out a bit. Do you see that begin to happen as they phase into this part of the training and the community?
Well, I think it's human nature that, we kind of revert back to who we are or who we were, and because of the fact that most of our clients come from the area, as soon as they get that bit of freedom where they go out into the community, we see that, backwards turn. And thankfully, we have all the systems in place to address that with the big brothers. That's what the therapeutic community is all about. That's why it's so important for them to be so connected, so that they can help each other through those kinks where, you need to make a better choice here. You need to get this job, stay focused, you could work through this. You don't have to be that person that you were before you came in. You can be this better guy. And with that support is the encouragement to move forward and get past those thoughts that are going to be recurring.
And I like the support that Karen just mentioned. It's kind of unique because if you have a rough time out there in trying to be an individual, you say you went on your job and you had a rough time with your boss and some of the peers that's working with you and co-workers, and then you can come back to the community at night and talk about some of the things that you had to go through and some of the adjustments that you had to make. You get that support from them, and because you've actually learned how to behave, if you will, in this environment, so you're trying to make some adjustments and talk about some of the things that you had to encounter as a result of the changes that you made, some of the feelings that was associated with making these changes in a real live situation. And so you always have that backup when you come back to the community and you're living in that. But at some point, like we said, you have to understand, because you're not going to be in this environment or this type of support for the rest of your life. You have to be able to take this out with you and be able to survive in the outside community as a productive person. That's how change take place.
You know, Charlie, we had this one client who was a top chef in the hotels in Orlando. And when he came up to phase 2 in the program and we asked him about, you know, what he wanted to do with work, of course he wanted to get into the food service industry. The only job that he could find was flipping burgers in McDonald's. And this guy went out there, and because he was coming up against his time, he really needed to get a job. He couldn't afford to be picky, and he took the job. And the first day he came back, the whole community was just hysterical. You know, they just cracked up because he was so humiliated. And he found so much relief in that it became like almost a joke every night, waiting for him to come back, who was singing the McDonald's song and doing a McDonald's dance. And he maintained this job throughout the whole time that he was in the program. And at graduation, he stood up there and he said, if it wasn't for the community, I wouldn't have been able to make it through the day at this job because I was humiliated. But knowing I was coming back to these guys and the reaction he was getting from them, it was hysterical to him, and it just made it okay. You know, it helped him to fit in.
On one hand, you get your power from the group, but on the other hand, you have to sort of separate from the group and be able to extend that power in your own life and be able to articulate it wherever you go. So it's kind of like you get the power from the group, but then you have to harness that power and take it with you wherever you go and practice these principles and practice these changes, acting as if, and getting the support from your peers, getting actually the role models that are already been through this. You can sit down and talk with and make discussions and talk about some of the things that you went through, and they can share their plight and how they had to go through the same thing, and you realize that, hey, I'm not alone. Everybody else goes through these same situations and the same maze, and I'm just part of a person who is going through these same changes in life, and I'm not any different than anybody
Well, Charlie,
else.
it's like what we say, right? The stories are all different, but the feelings are all the same.
Yep.
You know, so they all identify with one another because they're really all feeling the same way. They just bring different stories and experiences to the table.
So these inmates, these clients that are coming through your program, they're really becoming a part of a real community that's going to be available to them maybe for their lifetime, even though they have their individual path to follow. Tell me about the Blue Chip.
Oh, the Blue Chip is so cool, because what it does is that every person that graduates the Bridges program get what we call a Blue Chip. And the founder, which was Frank Constantina, he identified, he the one to develop this program, and he likened it as a poker. Going to Las Vegas or wherever you gamble at, the highest chip on the table is a blue chip, and you strive to get as many blue chips as you possibly can, because at the end of the day, when you cash them in, that means you're going to have a little more money in your pocket, and that means you're winning. And so what he likened that to with our clients, that every client that leaves the bridge and graduate the program receive a blue chip, because we think they are a blue chip client, that we think that they are so special because they was able to persevere and complete this program, meaning that their chances of making it on the outside now is increased to about 85%. But on some occasions, you're going to have a situation where the person is not going to get everything that we gave them, and sometimes there might be a opportunity to slip. And before they commit a crime, before they do something serious and get themselves back in the same situation that got them in the program before, they can take that blue chip that we gave them when they graduated the program and say, look, I want to cash it in. And we will reassess them, determine what their needs are, And if they need to come back into the program, we'll make arrangements to get them back in. If we don't have a bed available, we'll look around and look at other resources and try to get them referred in somewhere else until we can have a proper place that they can come, a resident where they can come into our place, or we'll look at some way that we can accommodate them to kind of get them back on the right path. So the Blue Chip was designed to have a person who has graduated the program have an opportunity to cash in, because we believe that they are blue chip clients. If you persevere in a program and graduate our program, you are a blue chip. And so we'll do anything that we can. The blue chips only represent you as a person. What you're doing is say, I'm cashing myself in. I know you invested a lot in me, but here I am again, and things are not working so well. I need help. And that's exactly what it is. Can you help me?
We're at the other end of the blue chip, you know. A lot of times the guys don't actually need to come back into the program. They just need to reconnect. You know, that's what the support is. And I just got a phone call the other day from somebody who graduated the program in 1985. So there was no way that I could look up his records, and he wanted a blue chip in. So, you know, my response was, come in, you know, come in and talk to us. And sometimes they just need to know that the support is there, and that's the value of the blue chip.